Hello and welcome to Rolling with Two. I'm Will, and with me as always is the person who wants pockets on everything.
Sarah, and that is true.
That is very true. And today we're doing a two-player perspective and accessibility for Pocket Master Builder. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right. In Pocket Master Builder, players play cards to the kingdom area, placing workers on the edges of the cards to collect resources, and then may use resources to construct a building, which gains them a benefit. The game ends when one player has built 6 buildings, and the player with the highest score wins. All right, Will, so how do the rules change for 2 players?
So for this game, there's only 2-player instructions and solo instructions.
Yep.
So there is no bot. You don't play with a bot. Instead, you play with a donkey. So no Nana, just a donkey. And that's one of the tracks you mess with.
Yes.
But it is built for a
the
two-player experience.
Yeah, definitely. So the biggest issue with it is skill matters in this game.
Yes. Everything is well crafted, and there is a smart way to play, and then there's the way we played. And I think if someone really knows this game backwards and forwards, they're just gonna win.
Right. So the problem there is if you have 2 people of equal skill, it's fine. But if you have 2 players of unequal skill, it is not such a great experience.
It's noticeable.
It is very noticeable. So that's going to be the biggest impact. But what it does well is it really delivers a massive experience in a small box.
Yeah, it's this cubes.
Yes, which doesn't seem like a lot.
And it's that
little thing
tiny
here.
little package.
But it spreads out across your table, and it uses cards, or cards have a lot of uses on them. I'm not sure if I'd actually call them multi-use. I mean, I guess so, but it's not usually multi-uses. You can use a card for one thing or another, but in here you use a card for multiple things at one time.
Yes, they're multi-function cards.
That's it, multi-function cards.
Because you'll place a card down, and based on what sides it goes in contact next to other cards, you can put workers on them and get different resources.
But you don't have to use the resources right away.
You don't have to use...
So you can leave the workers there.
And now that the card's out on the board, it has a potential of being built by anyone, provided they have the right resources. So you can also discard a card, and the bottom will also have a resource because it'll go adjacent to other cards that way. But if you discard it from your hand, you can get a resource based on what you've discarded as.
Yes.
So it's a very functional card.
Right. It is. So that kind of moves us on to accessibility and some of the challenges there. And starting with that, this is a very cognitive overload game. There is a lot of complexity going on. And on top of it, the rules are not well written. I'm pretty sure it's translated.
Yes. In all fairness, I believe it is a translated rules, so the phrasing is awkward in spots. It does a fairly good job at explaining most of the major elements in the game. Now, one element that really is needed to be explained and is not at all are the gold cards, because they're all iconography.
Right. And even when you go on Board Game Geek, there's some information about them, but mostly what you're going to find is discussion of players trying to figure out what they mean. So it felt like it was kind of like, well, I guess make it what you want it to be. Like, we had questions on, we thought we knew what the iconography meant, but we had multiple interpretations. So then we just kind of had to decide which one we thought it was.
Because we couldn't even find an answer on BGG.
Right. We couldn't even find it there.
Yeah.
So that's obviously not great.
Yes.
The cubes. This is another thing with it trying to be a small portable thing. The cubes going on, and they are both your workers and your markers for which building you've built. After, not even a while, after a short bit, it is really hard to parse the information of what cubes are all out there.
Now, the good thing is it's white cubes and black cubes.
Yeah, so that part is very starkly different.
Yeah, so my cubes are very different than Sarah's cubes.
Right, but will also say black kind of blends in to the cards. So that's not great.
Yeah, let's just say the color palette on the game is muted.
Yes.
And therefore, everything does blend together. And when all you're trying to look for is where one cube is positioned on a card versus others, and multiple cubes are out there, looking and glancing, because as the cards get built out, you have a full-size board game space that's being taken up.
And you're building a shared space, because a lot of games you build your own tableau in front of you, so then it's not so hard to figure out what you've built because it's in front of you. But here it's in a shared space, and I don't believe it actually specified where on the card you're supposed to put your cube when you build it. You just need to put it somewhere on there. But then you also have cubes that could be on all of the edges to gain resources. But they might not be there. But there might be one. There might be two. And so then it gets really confusing.
And depending on what the edge is, also makes the worker act differently.
Yeah.
So there are different resources. There's gold, which are coins. There's wood. There's stone. And there's bricks. So not an overwhelming number of resources.
Right. And those icons are very distinct.
Yes. But what matters is the backgrounds. There's 3 different colors of those. There's a tan,
a sort of reddish, and a purple. But they're all very muted, not sepia, but like...
muted is a good...
Yeah, muted.
Yeah, so if you put a worker out there, and you can only put it on when you're placing a card down. If you put a worker on there, and the resources match in terms of background color, like red and red, then whenever you use that worker, it counts as both the resources. If they don't match, say you have a tan and a red, then when you take the worker off, you choose one of the resources.
Right.
So again, another level of information to parse out when you're trying to figure out what in the world they're doing.
Yeah. And this is an even worse, is that all the icons are small, because again, they're trying to fit a lot of information on all these cards, and so all those resources are very tiny, and then the other icons on there are also small. Again, the good news is they're distinct, but they're small, and it's in a big tableau that gets kind of messy.
Yes.
I think we talked already enough. It takes up a lot of table space. That's going to be difficult if you can. I mean, you might not have a table big enough for this game, even though your pocket is big enough to carry this game. You could take it to a cafe. You just can't play it at a cafe.
Right, because their tables are too small.
Yeah. So I think that covers all the challenges. I mean, I guess what it does right is the icons are unique, and I will give it props for being portable.
Yes.
It succeeds. It succeeds at that.
Yes, really big game.
Really, really well. All right, conclusion.
Conclusion. Would you recommend this for a 2-player game?
If the 2 players playing it are okay with whatever the skill level disparity is, if there is any, and they're okay with the heaviness of the game, they know what they're going into, then yes, this is probably going to be a really fun game for you.
Yes. This is a game that reminds me of something we'd probably first pick up when we were just getting into the game, because we were looking for heavier games.
Right. And this is very affordable way to do it. It's it's less than $20.
Yes.
I want to say it was like $13 or $14. Then you add tax and all that sort of stuff. But an affordable, portable, meaty game. It can be a great option.
Just know that there's a lot of caveats to that recommendation.
Yes.
Accessibility.
I mean, I'm leaning on the probably not for most people if you've got severe vision issues, or, I mean, honestly, if you're just playing in poor lighting, any type of eyesight issues can be very challenging here. So this is generally not going to be the most accessible game.
Yeah, honestly, I would also say it's not very accessible. There was moments at which Sarah was taking her turn, and because I remember so much, I was reminding her of what abilities she had already unlocked, because she just couldn't easily see it and therefore understand what ability she had.
Exactly.
And I was like, don't forget you have that thing. I do?
Yeah.
I do.
Right.
And that took that long for her to process where it was, what it was, and that she had it.
Right. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's very much.
So even sighted people, not very inaccessible game.
Yes, I agree with that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, that will do it for us. And Sarah.
Yes.
Do you have any questions for me about Pocket Master Builder?
I have a lot of questions, and I don't think we have the time for them.
So there you go. And why would you ever roll with just one when you can be rolling with two? And remember, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling with Two. That's TWO. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
And if you have time, check out the other content Nanaman has found for you, because remember, he's rolling with you.